Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at something, well, truly monumental. The Sripada Sagar Yellampally irrigation project in Telangana, India. I mean, picture this. A 26.3-meter-high earth dam. Huge.
Yeah.
And it's got 62 massive radial lift gates.
62, yeah. That's quite something.
Holding back 20 TMT of water. Now, for anyone not familiar, TMCFT is 1,000 million cubic feet.
Right.
So 20 billion cubic feet. Just an absolutely enormous amount of water.
It's hard to even visualize, really.
Exactly. It's an incredible piece of engineering, no doubt, but it's also, a huge ongoing responsibility. So the big question for us today is, how on earth do you ensure the safety, the long-term safety of a structure that's so massive and so vital it serves millions of people?
Yeah, that's the critical point. And the answer really is comprehensive safety monitoring. It's kind of the unsung hero here. What's really interesting, I think, is just the sheer variety of instruments they use. They're constantly watching every key aspect. For this project, Sripada Sagar, a specialist firm in cardiorite, actually provided the whole instrumentation setup. That covers the main earth dam and the concrete spillways. It's not just about building it big. It's about building it smart, making sure it stays safe for decades.
That makes sense. So it's much more than just, say, someone walking around looking for cracks occasionally.
Oh, absolutely. Far beyond that.
How do they achieve that level of meticulous detail?
Yeah.
What's the unseen tech at play keeping this thing secure?
Well, it's an incredibly thorough approach. They use this whole suite of different instruments, and each one has a very specific job. Take the dam's foundation, for instance. Its integrity is key.
Crucial, I'd imagine.
Definitely. So they use things called foundation and embankment piezometers.
Pedometers, okay.
These measure water pressure, specifically within the ground, within the earth embankment itself.
And why is that important?
Because if that pressure builds up too much, it could potentially compromise the dam's stability. You don't want that. And working alongside those, you've got uplift pressure cells. These detect any upward force from water seeping underneath the structure. Water can actually exert an upward push, trying to sort of lift the dam. It sounds strange for something so heavy, but managing that pressure is vital.
Wow. Okay, so that covers the forces sort of under the dam. What about the structure itself? The dam's body, the earth around it?
Exactly. For that, they use different tools. Strain meters, for example, are embedded to pick up even tiny deformations or stresses within the concrete or the earth fill.
Tiny changes.
Yes, very small movements. Then you have earth pressure cells. They measure the pressure the soil itself is exerting, within the dam structure, which can change.
Okay.
And joint meters are really important, too. They track any movement, any opening or closing across the structural joints, particularly in the concrete sections like the spillways.
So even a tiny shift in a joint gets flagged.
Precisely. It could be an early sign of a bigger issue developing.
It really sounds like they're building this constantly updating health profile of the entire dam. What else are they measuring?
Oh, it goes even deeper, literally. They use borehole extensometers.
Borehole extensometers.
Yeah, these are installed down into the ground, into boreholes to measure deformation at different depths. Gives you a kind of 3D picture of subsurface stability.
Right, underground.
And magnetic settlement systems track very precisely any vertical movement. Is the dam settling? Is the foundation sinking slightly?
Okay, detecting sinking makes sense.
And of course, seepage measurement.
Yeah.
You constantly monitor for any water leakage through or under the dam. That's a classic early warning sign.
Leakage, right.
Then you factor in the environment, too. Integrated weather stations track rainfall, temperature, humidity.
Because that affects water levels and material stress.
Exactly. And critically important, especially in certain regions, strong motion accelerometers.
Ah, for earthquakes.
Yes. They detect any seismic activity, any ground tremors. This gives immediate data on how the dam actually responds during a seismic event. Vital information.
That is an astonishingly comprehensive set of data points. But, collecting mountains of data is one thing.
Sure.
How they actually process it all, make sense of this constant stream of technical readings so it's, actionable.
Yeah, that's the crucial next step. And that's where modern tech really comes into its own. All this data coming in continuously, it isn't just logged somewhere, it's piped directly online. It's accessible in near real time through cardiorite's monitoring software.
So engineers can see it immediately?
Pretty much. And if you think about the bigger picture here, this real-time comprehensive view lets engineers shift from just reacting to problems.
Fixing things after they break.
Right, to being truly proactive. They can perform predictive safety assessments, spot subtle trends, identify potential stress points, maybe even predict how the dam might behave before a problem becomes visible or critical.
That's a huge shift.
It is. Moving from reaction to prevention, it's absolutely paramount for public safety, obviously, but also for the project's own longevity, and ultimately it saves lives and resources.
So thinking about this for you, our listener, what this really means is that these massive infrastructure projects, like Sripada Yellampally, providing water for millions, they're not just built and left, they're under this constant watchful high-tech eye. Actively managed, monitored minute by minute, all for safety.
That's the key takeaway, constant vigilance through technology.
It's just a remarkable combination, isn't it? That blend of incredible engineering skill and this relentless data-driven vigilance. It's what keeps these critical structures safe. So next time you think about the immense projects underpinning our world, a dam, maybe a bridge, a huge building, just take a moment. Think about that hidden network. Sensors, data, software, all working tirelessly behind the scenes, keeping things secure. And maybe it raises a bigger question for you to ponder. What other hidden systems, what other unseen networks are quietly ensuring our daily lives run smoothly, well beyond what we normally see or even think about?
Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, water, it's fundamental, isn't it? More than just a resource. And how we manage it, especially with these big strategic projects, can completely reshape a region. Today, we're diving into a really key source. It's excerpts on the Sripada Yellampally project, Godavari River Barrage. Our mission really is to pull out the crucial bits of info about this major water project. What is it and, well, what does it mean?
Exactly. And looking at projects like this, like Yellampally, it gives us such insight. It's like a case study in how societies handle these absolutely vital resources, how they adapt, how they plan for the future.
Okay, let's get into it then. This blueprint, as you called it. We're talking about the Sripada Yellampally project. People often just call it the Yellampally Barrage. And its location. It's right there on the Godavari River in Telangana, specifically near Yellampally village that's in the Peddapally district. Used to be part of Karimnagar.
That's the spot. And that location is key, not just random. So when they designed it, what was the main thinking? Just one big goal? Or was it broader?
Good question, because it's definitely not just one thing. It's multifaceted. They designed it for irrigation, getting water to farmland. Also crucial for drinking water supply for towns and villages nearby. And interestingly, also for generating hydroelectric power.
Ah, so a triple threat, essentially.
Pretty much. And the scale, the storage capacity is around 20 TMC. That's 1,000 million cubic feet.
20 TMC, that's a significant volume of water. Hard to even picture sometimes.
It really is. Think about it, that could cover the drinking water needs for millions or irrigate huge areas for a whole season.
And that storage directly translates into real impact, doesn't it? The source really highlights the irrigation side. It's more than just statistics. It changes how farming works there.
Absolutely. We're talking thousands of acres getting reliable water across Karimnagar, Peddapally, nearby districts too. Can you maybe give us a sense of what that really means for the farmers on the ground?
Well, imagine you're a farmer, maybe small scale, maybe medium. You used to rely on the monsoon, which is, unpredictable. Or maybe groundwater that's getting lower. Now, suddenly, there's a consistent source. That means stable crops, better income, less risk. It's huge. And like you said, the drinking water aspect that lifts up daily life, public health, it's fundamental.
So it's making a big local difference, but it also sounds like it's part of something bigger. How does this Yellampally project connect to, say, Telangana's wider water strategy?
Yes, that's one of the really fascinating parts. It's not standalone. Yellampally is actually a key piece of the massive Kaleshwaram lift irrigation scheme, KLIS.
KLIS. We hear a lot about that, the huge lift irrigation project.
Exactly, often called the world's largest multi-stage lift project. So Yellampally feeds into this enormous network that literally lifts water up and moves it vast distances. It completely changes the game for water distribution in the state.
Wow. Okay, so it plugs into this giant system. What does that mean then for the whole region, development, environment?
It means it's helping stabilize agriculture across the wider Godavari Basin, turning drought-prone areas into more productive land. And it's critical for Mission Bhagirath, too.
Mission Bhagirath, that's the plan for piped drinking water to every home, right?
That's the one. Yellampally provides a reliable source for that huge undertaking. Plus, there's a positive environmental angle. It helps recharge groundwater. replenishing those underground sources. These are really broad systemic benefits.
The timeline on this is interesting, too. You mentioned it's quite new.
Very new. The inauguration was in 2019.
2019. So in terms of major infrastructure, that's practically yesterday. What does that recent completion tell us?
It tells us Telangana is moving fast, investing seriously in modern water solutions right now. It shows they're tackling water security head-on, adapting to climate change, population growth, building for the future.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive here. It's clear this Sripada Yellampally project is much more than concrete and water. It's really a symbol of tackling huge resource challenges, boosting agriculture, securing water for people, a massive strategic effort.
It really is. And it makes you think, doesn't it? What does just one project like this complex, multi-purpose tell us about that interplay, between nature's resources, human ingenuity, and how a region develops? Especially now when water is becoming such a critical global issue. Maybe consider, what are the long-term ripples, the effects this kind of planning has generations down the line?
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something really quite monumental. We're looking at the hidden intelligence, you could say, that keeps massive structures like dams safe. Think of this as, well, your shortcut to understanding how these huge engineering feats are constantly watched over. Our focus is the Sripada Sagar Yellampally project. It's in Telangana, India, right across the Godavari River. And it's not just about holding back water. Its main jobs are irrigation and generating power, vital stuff. Just to give you a sense of scale, it's over 1,180 meters long. That's pretty big. About 26 meters high. It's an earth dam mostly, with concrete bits for the spillways holding back at this 20,000 million cubic feet of water. Imagine the forces involved there.
Oh, absolutely. That scale and its critical role, plus, the sheer force of the water and nature itself, it makes ensuring its integrity over the long haul a huge engineering task. And the real heroes, perhaps unsung, aren't just the people who built it initially. It's the sophisticated systems doing the monitoring day in, day out. Which brings us to the core question, really. How do engineers keep tabs on such a massive thing? How do they ensure it's safe, functional for decades, often without anyone, physically seeing a problem develop? That's where this hidden intelligence, as you called it, truly comes in.
Right, that massive scale and the constant pressure, I get that. But the invisible side, what are these actual mechanisms, the digital guardians keeping it safe?
Exactly. Think of it like installing a super sensitive nervous system right into the dam. So for instance, you've got things called piezometers. They're embedded deep down in the foundation, in the body of the dam itself. And they're not just checking water pressure in a simple way. They're picking up tiny changes, subtle shifts in internal stress, potential uplift forces from water seeping underneath.
Uplift force.
Yeah, water trying to push the structure upwards from below. Even a small increase, totally invisible from the surface. If you don't catch it, it could point to a weakening foundation down the line.
Okay, that makes sense.
Then you have magnetic settlement systems. These are watching for movement, even tiny shifts, like millimeter-level changes within the dam's structure or foundation.
Millimeters. Why so sensitive?
Because really slow, gradual settlement or maybe erosion happening deep down, if that goes unnoticed, it can eventually lead to serious structural fatigue, maybe even cracks. Catching it early is key.
So these things give engineers like an internal view, seeing things the naked eye just can't. What about outside forces? Earthquakes, maybe?
Yeah.
And other vital signs?
Precisely. For seismic stuff, you use strong motion accelerometers. These aren't just for analyzing after an earthquake. They give real-time data on how the dam actually reacts to tremors, even small ones, or quakes far away. Understanding that dynamic response is vital for gauging its strength against, well, the unexpected.
Right, it's resilience.
Exactly. And of course, for any dam, seepage measuring systems are crucial. They detect and measure any water leaking through or under the structure. Now, a little bit of seepage can be normal, expected even.
Okay.
But if the amount suddenly increases or changes pattern, that could signal a new crack or pathway forming. That's information you need immediately for intervention. And what's really fascinating, I think, is how all this data, from piezometers, settlement systems, accelerometers, seepage monitors, it all comes together. It lets engineers build this comprehensive live health report for the dam. They understand what's happening deep inside its core.
So it's not just about having sensors, is it? It's about turning that raw data into, well, usable intelligence, that hidden intelligence again.
Yeah.
How do companies like in Cardiorite you mentioned help make that happen, make it more than just gadgets?
That's the crucial link, yes. Companies like Encardiorite, they provide the whole package. Not just the high-precision instruments, but the specialized software, the cloud platforms, basically the dam's central processing unit.
Ah, the brain.
Kind of, yeah. All that data we talked about streams online, often in real time, to a central dashboard. So engineers, who might be miles away, can see everything. They can spot trends, see how different readings relate. They can identify anomalies that, frankly, a human just looking at the dam would completely miss.
So it moves beyond just watching to predicting.
Exactly. It takes it from simple vigilance to predictive analysis. Instead of just reacting when a crack finally appears, they can see the subtle signs before it happens. They can model potential future behavior based on current trends. And they can schedule proactive maintenance or make adjustments before it becomes a real problem. That level of insight ensures the dam keeps doing its job safely, extends its life, and helps prevent, really costly or even catastrophic failures.
It's actually quite incredible when you think about it, this silent, constant watchfulness, all driven by this integrated tech, this nervous system, as you put it.
It really is. And, you might not see these systems day to day, but just imagine this multitude of hidden sensors, this monitoring tech silently working away. It's keeping so much of our modern world safe and functional. Bridges, tunnels, tall buildings, even basic utilities. Which does make you wonder, doesn't it? What other everyday things that seem simple rely on these invisible layers of technology? Things you probably take completely for granted, quietly ensuring everything works and stays safe, makes you think.